Anchors up, sells it full. Welcome to the SloopCast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing all right, Jared. How are you doing today?
Doing all right. We're doing an instant react today. We're actually streaming this on Bleacher Report. The good folks over, by the way, new tradition, good tradition. Let me do that real quick. All right, let me get my noise gate on. Oh, my noise gate was already on. That beer crack is not going to come through well. We're Bleacher Report invited us to do their official post game for Ohio State and Iowa. We'll actually be doing this for this game and the next two games, the next 3 Buckeye weeks, not the next 3 calendar weeks, the next 3 Buckeye weeks. And we will be doing, that is Oregon and Nebraska, but that's not what we're talking about today. Today we are talking about Iowa, talking about the game that we just saw. Kyle, we'll get into the report card. We'll do our normal Scarlet and grade stuff. General thoughts on the game before we do that.
Yeah, general thoughts. Started off really strong. First drive went down for a touchdown. Thought this was going to be a complete blowout here, but I mean, credit to Iowa to make plays, create turnovers, and try to keep them in the game. But that second half, Ohio State was just pedal to the metal, just absolute domination. Took advantage of everything that came in front of them in that second half. So I think overall, I thought it was pretty good game. Definitely a lot of things to clean up, turnovers to clean up, but really impressed to see Ohio State in all aspects here. 35-7 victory, and this is kind of like a test, so to speak, to see how Ohio State will do coming in November. It's kind of like a mini Michigan team, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. What on earth is? There's a big Bleacher Report thing that just showed up. I guess they didn't trust us to brand it. Okay, mental note. That's where they're putting the Bleacher Report at.
All right.
I'll adjust the frame for the next stream. Buckeye Esquire in the chat says absolutely smothered them. Yeah, absolutely. The starters pitched a shutout. The starting defense pitched a shutout. And that's huge. That's absolutely huge. They completely smothered Johnson, the starting running back for Iowa. He had, outside of one, again, against the starters, I know he had like a 20-some yard run against the backups. Acknowledged. But against the starters, he had like one run over 4 yards, something like that, or maybe 4 or 5 yards. He had one decent play where he broke a tackle from a linebacker and got outside for a decent run. Outside of that play, however, I don't think he got anything more than 4 or 5 yards a pop at best.
Even with that big run that he had for the lone Iowa touchdown, 5.7 yards total, or 5.7 yards average for Caleb Johnson. Yeah, I thought they did an outstanding job keeping him contained too. So yeah. With that, Jared, let's go ahead and jump into our report card then real quick. So for those hasn't heard us before, we go ahead and give a report card for the team as a whole. We split it up into the offense, defense, special teams, and a team as a whole. And we kind of go through all of those and give different gradings out here.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me actually zoom in on that so it's a little bit easier to read. I have all A's in here currently. That's obviously not going to be, I don't know, it's a pretty good game. Maybe it will be. I don't know. But yeah.
So
we'll change this as we go. Annoyed about the late touchdown, says Austin Graham. Yeah, I mean, you always want a shutout, right? Always go for the shutout. And then it moved the Bleacher Report logo down there.
There you go. All right. While Jared's getting that cleaned up here. So let's do the report card real quick. We'll we'll start with the offense here, because I think to me this is I think this was the big thing that we were all looking at. How will Ohio State's offense look against a really good defensive line, a defensive front seven? And yeah, we'll start with the game plan. I think overall, in my opinion, the game plan for Ohio State's offense here, I'd give them an A. I really liked what they were trying to do, really spread the ball out, get Trevion and Quinshawn a good amount of carries. But honestly, that offensive line really set the tone. Best game so far this year that the offensive line has done.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll get to but you said an A for the game plan. I'm actually going to go A+. I thought it was great. What does the chat have to say? Austin agrees with you, Kyle. Yeah, by far the best game from the offensive line. Buckeye Esquire says, answer, largely smooth as butter. Buckeye Esquire also says, Tyreek is such a game changer. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Game management. I thought, the second quarter, I saw a mention in here about the play calling was suspect in the second quarter. Yeah, it was a little bit here, but there was dumb turnovers as well too. That really this game could have been a lot worse than it was. But I'd say game management. I'd say an A. I'd say an A overall as well too. Maybe an A-, but I'll stick with an A.
Yeah, I'm not going to give him a plus this time. For reasons you said, like, for example, I really liked the choice to go on the second drive. I like the choice to go for it on fourth down. Okay. But at the same time, I don't know, the play call was weird.
Especially that second fourth down when you had Howard running the ball. You got two
that's the play I'm
running
talking
backs. Give that ball to them on 4th and short, 4th and 1. Let them get that first down there. Don't give it to Howard there, unless you're going to do like a tush push, which they didn't in this.
Yeah,
game.
but it was like but that fourth down was like 2 yards out, which is too far for a push tush. Nope, those aren't the right words. But we move forward. But yeah, I game management. Actually, I'm going to change my mind. Actually, I'm going to add a plus on top of that. Okay. Halftime adjustments.
Oh yeah. And that goes along with what I mentioned at the top of the show there. First three drives for our Ohio State offense all resulted in touchdowns.
We have to include we have to include like halftime adjustments for game management, and
sure.
Offensively, they were much cleaner the second half.
Absolutely. So speaking of that, let's jump into the passing here. Will Howard, 21 for 25, 209 yards, 4 touchdowns, and does have that interception as well here. 84% completion pass rating for Will Howard.
Can't give him a plus. He gets an A. I can't give him a plus with an interception, with a second pass that very well could have been. I mean, at least one other pass that could have been intercepted. Can't give him a plus on that, but I am willing to still give him an A. Yeah,
I agree. I would say an A as well. So some of those throws that he made was just absolute dimes, right where they needed to be. Overall, Will does a fantastic job of throwing it where it needs to throw it. He does have a tendency, especially these last few weeks here, where he's trying to make something happen, one or two plays here. But I think overall, as a game as a whole, outstanding job here. So question here, do you feel like at the beginning of the game we were looking ahead? I wouldn't think so.
No.
I wouldn't really think so, just because like Ohio State had 2 turnovers in that first half there, and they were driving on those 2 drives too. So it could have easily been 40-49 to 7 here. But
they had a fumble, they had an interception, they had a questionable fourth down play call. And like, you can't say, well, if it weren't for that, because those are all things that are a part of the game, right? Like, you can't wave them away. You can't excuse them away.
Yep.
But it's not like they were sleepwalking. I mean, we saw the first drive where they just rammed it down. What was I saw a stat that was the first touchdown given up on the first drive by Iowa's defense in years.
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a crazy stat.
So, and Ohio State did it, I don't want to say effortlessly because it took 14 plays.
Yeah.
But it also didn't look like it hurt that much. Like,
no. So,
and again, and this needs to be said. This is one of the best defenses in college football. Not one of the best defenses in the Big Ten. Not one of the best defenses Ohio State will play this year. One of the best defenses in all of college football right now. Like without debate top 10. Without debate top 10.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree with that. Definitely one of the elite defenses in the country here that Ohio State just faced. Running. Moving on to the running here. Ohio State 40 attempts. Yes, 40 attempts on the ground here for 203 yards.
I'm sorry, did we actually grade the pass? Oh yeah, we did. I'm sorry. I don't know if the chat did. Chat, do you have one for passing while Kyle gives running stats?
Yeah. So an A in there for passing from the chat.
Oh, okay.
Over 200 yards on the ground here for Ohio State. What was it? Iowa was averaging, it was like under 70 on average or something like that. It was something really, really low. So I'm just very, very impressed with the offensive line here, which we're coming up here as well. But running A+ for the running here. First time that Iowa's given up a run score of the year too. Fortunately, didn't come from one of our running backs, but was really hoping to see Trey or Judkins get one of those touchdowns. But it is what it is, though.
By the way, your gain might be a little high. You're a little bit distorted. You might want to adjust that. The next up, chat. I will chat. I got an A, an A, an A+, and an A for the running. We'll keep it at an A then. What's that?
Thoughts on the running?
Oh, I mean, you said it. Like, Judkins and Trey were the best running backs in the game today, which is saying something. It's absolutely saying something.
Receiving.
Where do we even start? I mean,
where do we start? It's got to be an A+. A+.
Yeah, it's undebatable.
All around for the receiving.
Absolutely undebatable.
Emeka was outstanding. Jeremiah just putting up highlights every week here. Really, really happy to see Brandon Ennis getting some balls thrown to him. And he's making plays as well, especially on that fourth down. Love seeing some more Ennis here. Definitely going to be a big part of Ohio State in future years here.
Yeah, 100%. Jeremiah Smith was not a lot of catches necessarily for Jeremiah Smith, but the one-hander in the end zone was insane. Mecca had 2 crazy touchdown catches. Did we see Tate at all today?
No, I didn't. Okay. I didn't see Tate at all.
Okay.
That is true. You could lower it because of the Jeremiah fumble. Sure. Yeah.
You could. I'm not gonna. Everything else that the wide receivers did, it's sort of like how you can still get a 99% and still get an A+. That's how I feel about the receivers.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the offensive line, which I think is, even though
specifically the run blocking,
even though the running backs did a really good job, Will Howard did a good job, receivers did a really good job. The offensive line did an outstanding job. We talked about all preseason about we weren't sure how the offensive line was going to do this year. Like, that's going to make or break Ohio State is how the offensive line will do throughout the year here. And I'm happy to say I'll give both the run and pass block like an A+ for me, which is, I think, the first that I've given them that high of a score this year. Very, very, very happy to see what I saw from the offensive line. even though it shows that they've given up one sack, that wasn't on the offensive line. That was just Will Howard trying to make a play, went outside the pocket there. Everything else, fantastic job by the offensive line. A+ for run and pass blocking.
I 100% agree. Kyle, honestly, Kyle, you're killing it today. I don't know how much I can add if I'm being real. Well, that's the wrong side of that, eh? What's the chat saying? Got an offensive line A+. Love having a vet center. That is huge.
Yeah, McLaughlin is the first or second most important transfer, without a doubt. Yeah, you could definitely say that on the offensive side. I know that Judkins brings a lot of the attention with a lot of the breakaways that he's had so far this year. But yeah, we talked about the offensive line needed help. They got a center in the transfer portal. We were hoping to see more, but we got what we got here. And yeah, I definitely can see that could be one of the most important transfers this season. Third down here. Ohio State went 7 for 11 on third downs against this Iowa defense.
7 for 11. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So we always talk about how on Scarlet and Grade, we always talk about how, we grade based off of expectations, and those expectations can't simply be, and like, if it looks like maybe we're being incredibly generous to the offense right now, again, this is one of the best defenses in college football. You grade based off of expectation, not just the expectation set by your guys, but also the expectation set by the other team, right? So based off of expectations, as far as like who Iowa is defensively.
Yep.
Yeah. A+.
Yeah. A+ on third down as well, but especially with the defense that you went up against here. Yeah. Very happy. Very, very, very happy to see that.
A+ on third down, especially against a defense like this. Yeah, exactly.
All right, Jared. You want to hit the defense here next, or?
Well, I think first we do some self-promo. If you are new here, we are because we're on Bleacher Report today. If you are new here, we are the Buckeye SloopCast. You can find us on YouTube, youtube.thesloopcast.com. You can find us on Discord, discord.thesloopcast.com. We have a great Discord community. You can come hang out with us. You can find the audio versions of these shows on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. And I think that's it. Come to the Discord, says Esquire. Esquire says, come to the Discord. So yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's a quick self promo. And now, Kyle, let's
talk about the defense. Let's get to the defense. We talked about in a episode we had released last Thursday when we reviewed the Ohio State and Iowa game here, that Ohio State's main objective, if I can get that out, is stopping Caleb Johnson. He was going to be the biggest threat for Iowa in terms of how well they're going to do here, and I'm happy to report that they shut him down when the starters were in. I was really happy to see what Ohio State did defensively to slow down Iowa's rushing attack, but I was a little disappointed, especially in that first half, of seeing some of those passes, especially the middle of the field, being so wide open. Still concerned. We've seen that, I think it's 3 games in a row where that middle of that field has just been open here. So I think if I'm going to be critiquing the defense here, it's still the middle of the field of getting that locked down a little bit more here.
Yeah. Again, grade based off of expectations. Both the expectations that we think Ohio State's one of the best defenses in the country, and also the expectations that Cade McNamara is, in fact, the quarterback for Iowa. To say that as nicely as I can say that. So yeah, we grade based off it. And Cade McNamara, didn't he start off the game like 9 for 10 or
Something like that. Yeah.
10 for 11 when he's only like a 62, 63% completion percentage quarterback coming into this game? That needs to be cleaned up. Now, I will say this. A few games ago, we saw Ohio State's defense kind of not start off the first half great, and then they figured it out in the second half. Last week against Michigan State got like 3 or 4 good drives, and then the Ohio State defense locked in. This felt like 1 or 2 drives from Iowa before the Ohio State defense. I feel like we're getting that, and it does feel like game plan to me, but it does feel like the time it takes for the defense to get into the groove of the game, whether that be a play calling thing or an adjustments thing, or if it's a player thing. I'm not 100% willing to commit to which thing it is, but the time appears to be shortening. So that's a good thing, right?
Yep, absolutely. So game plan, I'd say an A. I saw an A plus. Somebody said here, defense A plus across the board in their opinion.
Squire says 99% of the quarterbacks will face probably can't beat you if you make them be perfect at 5 yards per completion the whole night. That's fair, and as limited as Cade McNamara is, he is still an incredibly experienced quarterback, and there is something to be said about him standing in the pocket and not panicking and making good decisions, which he did throughout, at least the first half. He might not be the most physically gifted quarterback to ever grace the Big Ten, but he is a mature, experienced football player.
True, fair. So game management on the defense, I'd give an A as well too. 226 yards for Iowa, and we know Iowa's offense isn't all that great, but them shutting down Caleb, them not letting up too many big plays. I know there was a few runs here that Caleb had the one touchdown, but that was not against the starters. And their other running back, Sullivan, had one as well that went pretty long as well too. So other than that, yeah, honestly, did a pretty good job of really limiting Iowa and getting them off the field as much as they can. Because Ohio State had the ball almost 10 minutes more, 9.5 minutes more than Iowa here. So kept Iowa off the field, and Ohio State had some pretty good long drives there. Really happy to see that.
Absolutely.
The run stop.
Well, real quick, I'm actually going to go with a plus.
Okay.
Don't know what the heck just happened there. I'm going to go with an A plus for the game management again. And I actually went, and I don't know if I said this out loud or not, but I actually went A minus on the game plan. We need to not wait a few drives to get into the groove of the game, but I do like that we get into the groove of the game. I feel like we make really good, smart adjustments. So that's a game management thing. Wouldn't mind to see us show up with the game plan ready more often, if that's even what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Run stop.
Run stop.
You face one of the best running backs in the country. You face one of the best running backs in the country. And like I said at the top of the show, you held him to one good run against the starters. I think through the first half, he had an average of under 3 yards per carry. And again, like I said, he against the starters had one, I would say, I don't have the exact numbers on this. I'd venture to say he had one carry over 5 yards.
Looking at here in the first half, he had one that was exactly 5 yards in the first half.
Yeah. So
that was his longest one.
Yeah, and in the second half, he did have I think he broke a tackle from, I think it was Cody Simon in the second half, where he got a decent run.
Yep.
And against the starters, that was it. He, of course, breaks a 20-some yard touchdown against the backups, and gets Iowa's lone score on the day. But against the starters, shut down. A+.
Yep. Pass rush here?
No, okay. I'm sorry, I'm not done yet. What was your grades? What's the chat's grades?
Yeah, I would say an A. I just closed it here. They held him to under 50 yards. The starters, that is. They held him to under 50 yards. That's A plus for me. That's that fantastic job. And then I see an A in the chat here as well too.
Yeah, and question: is it Tyleek? Tyleek comes back this week, and all of a sudden the defensive line looked disruptive again.
I've been saying that, Jared. I've been saying that Tyleek is going to be a key missing point for this defensive line here, and yeah, he's been a difference maker. I'm really happy to see the pressure that this defensive line we're finally seeing that here against Iowa. Really happy to see the pressure, making Cade uncomfortable at times here. And we saw when he's uncomfortable and has to try to throw on the move there, he's inaccurate, and that's what we were waiting to see here from Ohio State.
Okay.
So A from the pass rush. It was overall really happy with the pass rush here.
I'm gonna bump it and go A+. What were the total sacks on the day?
Ohio State had 4 sacks.
Ohio State had 4 sacks. Kyle, do you remember when we did Know Your Enemy, which is our pregame show, how many sacks? I don't know if it was Iowa in total or if it was just Cade McNamara. How many sacks they gave up in every game up until today?
Ooh. I'd have to look.
The number is 4. Ohio State got as many sacks on Cade McNamara today that he had gotten on him the entire season up until this point. That's an A+ day, in my opinion. And
one of those sacks was a strip sack. Yeah, Z Spikes. Yeah. Yes. Yep. A+ I see in the chat here too. Yeah. All right. Pass coverage. I'll bump down a little bit there. I'll give like a B+. I'll say B+ for the pass coverage here. It kind of goes back to what I mentioned a little bit ago. That middle of the field seems really open here, and I hope to see in the future that gets locked down, that gets fixed as the season progresses here.
I feel like Sonny Styles has still been figuring out what it is to be playing linebacker in many ways. I think some of those coverage issues has been on him, but I also think we saw him as a linebacker take a big step forward today, because it may have been a little rough in the early going, but as the game went, he was fantastic. Like, again, 2 or 3 drives into the game, it's like something flipped and he became himself all over. That's, the him that we were used to seeing at safety, that dominant disruptive force. We started to see him be that at linebacker today. Do you have stats on Sonny Styles' day?
Yeah.
I feel like he had a ton of tackles.
He did lead the team. He had 7 total tackles. Cody Simon was right behind him with 6. 4 of those 7 tackles were solo, and 2 of those tackles were tackle for losses.
I mean, 2 TFLs on the day, leading tackler for the day. Those are good numbers.
Yeah. 9 tackles for loss for the team.
That's huge.
That's huge. Yes.
That's why the run stop gets an A+.
Pass coverage, I'd say B+. Happy to see Iggy getting his interception here.
Yeah.
Really happy to see that. Tackling here. I think overall as a season, I think Ohio State's done a pretty good job tackling. There were some iffy ones, but I will give credit to Johnson. He's just such a outstanding running back. He's going to make guys miss. He's so strong. Going to shrug off weak tackles. So I'd
expectation
I'd say B plus. I'd say B plus as well too. Maybe A minus, but I'll stick with B plus. I mean, Caleb is such an outstanding running back, but there was definitely some iffy tackles that should have been made. But that's just me being picky.
Welcome, Kabuto. For tackling, I'll go A minus. A lot of what you said, and if it were a lesser running back, I might join you in B plus. But again, Johnson's one of the best running backs in the Big Ten.
Yep.
If not the country. Absolutely. You have to grade based off of expectation. You have to understand that a guy like that is going to make plays.
Yep. And last stat for the defense here is third downs. Iowa was 5 for 12 on third downs. Could have been 1 for 1 on fourth downs, but thanks for that timeout there. And then taking that punt there for us. But 5 for 12 on third downs for Iowa. I can't grade this high here just because of expectations, knowing that Ohio State should dominate over let's just be honest, it's not a good Iowa offense, and Ohio State should have dominated right from the start here. 5 for 12 does seem a little high to me. So I will say like a B for me. There's definitely some plays where they were 3rd and 5 or longer, and they got those third downs. It's like, man, like you got to tighten up a little bit there. I think I saw a former Buckeye, Chimney Chekwa, said on those third and shorts, like just man up and play ball. And I agree with that. You got to play up a little bit tighter on those third and shorts. Get your defensive line and blitzing linebackers to make a play there.
Okay. I mean, I totally agree. I'll go ahead and match your grade.
Z Spikes in our Discord here, Jared just says, should have just blitzed him on every snap.
Why is he typing in the Discord?
He's having issues with the app. That's
fine. Oh, okay. Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
I see a B plus in the chat as well for third downs here. Okay. Kabuto says this game could have easily been 50-0 if not for a couple miscues. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
50 is kind of a weird score. Maybe 51-48.
All right. Special teams. All right. The last group here is special teams here.
And we'll definitely talk about the special teams after we do some self-promo.
Yes.
Self-promo time. I round sometimes too. I appreciate the hustle. Visit the SloopCast.com. It's a campsite page where you can find all of our other links. Most notably, subscribe to us on YouTube. Come join our Discord server. Find the audio version of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Just search SloopCast and you'll find us. And that's it. Join the Discord. If I could tell you one thing, come join the Discord server. It's a fun community. Come hang out.
All right.
Nope. Went back to the wrong one again. I always do that.
Special teams. So first one here, I can't really say too much with these. Place kicking, Ohio State didn't attempt a field goal at all, so we just got to give them a straight A for that. Nothing bad for that.
How many touchbacks?
That's a good question. If I can pull that up real quick here. I'm looking to see if there. Well, actually, the question is, was there any returns? There was one return. There was one return. And to be fair, he returned that like 1 yard deep in the end zone.
No, you know what? I'll take that. A.
Yep. So that goes into kick coverage too. Yeah. A. No issues on punt returns and kick returns. I mean, Ohio State, they only punted like twice. Yeah, twice. And Iowa returned it once for 12 yards. Not that big of a deal. So I'd say an A for punting as well.
Yeah, we didn't do it a ton, but when we did it, it worked. Man, to put some salt, and I know this is more of an Iowa special teams play than it is a Big Ten or a Ohio State special teams play. Not only did one of the worst punt sequences I've ever seen. Iowa dials up a great fake punt
that we all knew it was coming.
We all knew it was coming. Even Ohio State knew it was coming, which I'm sure is why Ferentz called the timeout. But their tight end hops the pile, gets it anyway. Like it was a great run, quite frankly, a good blocking, great run. It was just good football, and they got it. But Ferentz called a timeout and didn't get the conversion because of it. Then the punter shanked it. Ohio State gets the ball back at near 30. I don't remember exactly what but it was like in the high 20s, I think. So it netted for like, I don't know, 20 yards, maybe 25 yards. Like, so they only even gained 25 yards worth of field position on top of not getting the first down. Terrible punt sequence from Iowa.
Yeah, that was. All right, and returning for Ohio State. I mean, it can't really grade too hard on this here, but I mean, there was only 2 returns by Ennis on both the kick and punt. I mean, you got to maybe grade it a little lower on the kick return. He's returned it in the end zone. He only got 14 yards out of that. Like,
yeah, that's a failure.
Come on, Ennis. So
he got bored.
He did. Yeah, probably. So B. I'd say a B.
I'll second that.
All right. And last one here. We're gonna go ahead and grade the team as a whole here. So first one here, effort. I mean, A. Is there anything else I can grade other than an A for the effort here? Holding Caleb Johnson to really low numbers, not letting up any big plays overall here. Held Iowa to under 250 yards. A. We got A in the chats as well.
Yeah. I can't think of any reason to disagree with you. Especially on the defensive side. Again, at least maybe at the second or third drive, they were playing pissed off. Like the comments from Johnson this week about how, and he's an Ohio kid. If people listening don't know that, he's from Hamilton County, I believe, near Cincinnati. He said something like, even if Ohio State had offered me, I wouldn't have gone to play there. And to quote Michael Jordan, I took that personally. Like the team, Sonny Styles and Jack Sawyer, who are both Ohio kids, both Pickerington kids, they took offense to that. Sonny Styles was jawing with Johnson all game. Like the effort was there. It was a pissed off, relentless effort, and I will take it every time. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to give it a plus.
All right. Discipline. This one I'm going to rate lower. For discipline, I'm going to say like a B minus.
Okay. I wasn't expecting that. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. The grading was a lot higher because Ohio State only had 1 penalty. Fantastic. One penalty all game. Okay, but now you're telling me why it should be a good grade.
I mean, those 2 turnovers. You got the fumble from Jeremiah. I know he's a freshman. He'll learn from that, but like that's you're driving, you're making great. The offense was moving. And then you fumble that there, and then the
this might be nitpicky, Kyle.
So
but isn't that more of an execution thing? I think it's more of it's like he had it tucked.
Yeah.
The Iowa player just made a great play. It's not like he was dangling the ball out
That's
there,
fair.
in which case I would call it a discipline thing.
All right. So yeah, I would change that. So execution, I'll say like a B.
Well, don't
discipline. I'll say
stay with the discipline.
Say like an A. Yep.
Okay.
Discipline. I'll say an A. I'll say an
All
A.
right.
You're right.
Yeah, I don't think that was. And by the way, they made it deep into the game until they got their first penalty. I was talking to Tyler, I believe it was you, in the Discord server during last week's social screen, which is a thing we do where we watch some football together in the Discord server, discord.thesloopcast.com, always be plugging, where we were talking about how, you know, there have been too many penalties for Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been a lot of penalties for Ohio State. They made it deep into the game until they got their first penalty, which was a holding call. Yes, it was. Hi, Tyler. Made it deep into the game until they got their first holding call. Didn't get anyone ejected this game for targeting, so that's a good thing.
Yes.
You know, because I think we were 3 for 3 on that for through the first 3 games, if I recall correctly. Maybe not. It might have been the first 2. But yeah, the discipline I thought was good. I don't think I have anything overly negative to say from a discipline standpoint. Some people might not like all the jawing that was going on. I'm personally a fan of it. I'm cool with it. I want my linebackers to have a little bit of an edge to them. I want my corner. I especially want my cornerbacks to have a little bit of an edge to them.
Execution. I'll say a B. I'll say B for the execution.
I think there were offensive execution issues in the first half. I think we can definitely have a conversation here. I'll go B plus, I think. No, I'll go A minus. And the reason I go A minus is I felt like from an execution standpoint, the defense played an excellent game, at least from a starter's standpoint, from beginning to last. The starters on the defense had a lights out game almost entirely.
Fair.
Some pass coverage issues early in the game, but offensively, there were some execution issues in the first half. A fumble, an interception, a near interception. The fourth down play I put on the coaching, that was a bad play call. So I think there were some execution issues by the offense in the first half. Overall grade.
A.
Execution B plus.
Yep. A overall for me, Jared. You held Iowa to just over 200 yards. The starters led up under 50 yards to Caleb Johnson. He ended up, the stats show 86 yards there, but the starters held him to under 50 yards. Fantastic defense. Offense, especially in that beginning of that second half, was firing on all cylinders. Receivers were just red hot fire. Judkins and Henderson played really well. Howard played really well. Yeah. A. Offensive line, outstanding, the best they've looked. A overall.
I don't disagree. I think this is the offense's best performance on the year. Yeah. Considering who they were playing, this is the offense's best performance on the year.
Mm-hmm.
Defense also had a great game, but I was one-dimensional. Like, we know that. We knew that coming in. I was a one-dimensional football team. I still liked how disruptive the offensive line was, or excuse me, the defensive line was, which I think is the most disruptive we've seen the defensive line be all year. And it's not like the Iowa offensive line is bad. you're not putting up the kind of rushing stats they were putting up and only allowing 4 sacks on the year because your offensive line's bad. Right? Like, and the competition Iowa's played this year hasn't been terrible. This is their third game against a Power 4 opponent. They already played a Big Ten game. They already played Iowa State. So, and Iowa State's a solid football team, if not very Iowa-esque themselves. But yeah, I'm going to go overall. I'm going to go with A as well. At the end of the day, Iowa's not a ranked team. Iowa's not a playoff team. I think in order to get an A+ on the overall, you need to take down. We'll have that conversation next week when they play Oregon, right? You look dominant against Oregon, I'll give you an A+. I'm not going to give you an A+ for beating Iowa, who is a great defense plus a great running back. That's who Iowa is.
Yep. All right, and that is our gradings here. Overall, really pleased with what we saw. I know that second half or the second quarter, a lot of Ohio State fans were really like just complaining about like Ohio State should have more points. Like we're only up 7-0 at halftime, but I mean, we've seen that it's the story of this year. Ohio State coaches and players have been making really good second half adjustments here. And I guess that's better than what we've seen in previous years too, when no change has happened. So
this was similar.
I'll take that.
This is similar to what we saw. Second quarter was very frustrating. Yeah, it was just, you had some bad circumstances offensively. Some were self-inflicted. Some were Iowa inflicted. You are never going to score 49 points on Iowa. That wasn't in the cards. Defense is too good. Their defense is too good. You are never going to be up 20 points at halftime. I mean, you could have actually, honestly, Ohio State actually really could have been, which again, if not for some circumstances, some self-inflicted, some Iowa inflicted, they actually could have been, which I think says a lot about this offense. The team was dominant, if not a tad bit sloppy in the first half. And then in the third quarter, they just went, they ran run shot on Iowa. So you take what you can get, especially against a team with an elite top 10 in the country defense.
Yep.
All right, Kyle.
All right. I think that's it.
Rip Ohio State opponent Heisman campaigns, Melvin Gordon. Listen, I know the Big Ten West doesn't exist anymore, but man, sometimes those Big Ten West running backs come east and that's it. No more for you. We don't do that here. Iowa, we don't do that here. Sorry to break it to you. All right, Kyle. Anything else you want to do, or is it time to end the show? The game literally just ended. We probably didn't get anything in the Ask SloopCast mailbag.
Yeah. I think we're good here. Definitely keep an eye on this Alabama Vanderbilt game. Alabama just scored a touchdown to go down to by 5 with 2.5 minutes left.
All right. Well, I guess it's definitely time to end this so we can go watch that. And for those of you watching in the live chat who are already in the Discord server, you might want to jump in the, I'm just saying for reasons I can't really say, you might want to jump into the social screen stage. So with all that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support your local podcasters. Bye, everyone.